Can the Mariners actually win the AL West?
When you suggested this, I mean, it just seems bonkers. I'm getting PTSD flashbacks of that last series with the Rangers, watching those two teams on the field and thinking, there's no way the Mariners will ever overtake this team. But we sit here tonight, and the best case scenario is the Mariners are 3 games back with a little bit over a month to play. Crazier things have happened. Fangraphs does not love the Mariners at this moment to win the division. They're sitting at just 20% to win the division. The Astros are at 39%. The Astros are actually at 41%, excuse me. And the Rangers are at 39%. So they're at about dead even splits to win the division right there. And the Mariners, they're hanging around right now in that division race, and it's not really impossible at this moment.
It doesn't shock me that the Mariners' odds sit at 20% when they're still 3 games back. If they start to make up ground, those odds will go up. That's just how the Fangraphs projections work. A few weeks ago, the odds of the Mariners making the playoffs on Fangraphs were way under 10%. They had virtually no chance, and then they've started to rip off all these wins, and it's gone up. Now, here we sit 3 games out on August the 21st. The Mariners are knocking on the door of the Rangers, where you talked about it, that series down in Texas when Brian Wu made his debut, the things we were saying were along the lines of these two teams are not even in the same stratosphere. All of a sudden, that's not the case anymore. They are. And the Mariners have the schedule ahead of them to control their own destiny. Now, the final 3 weeks of their season is really tough in terms of the teams they're going to play, a handful or 2 of those games being the Rangers, but they're right. Their work's cut out for them. They're right in front of them. If they go out and beat the Rangers the final few weeks of the season, there's no reason they can't win the AL West because there they are. It's there for the taking if they want it and if they can do it.
The way the final 10 games are set up, where you have 3 at the Rangers, 3 at home versus the Astros, and 4 at home versus the Rangers. That stretch right there is what will win you or lose you the division. The Mariners need to get to that point and not collapse, right? That's step one. But the way they're playing right now, we're going to go ahead and almost assume that they make it to that point of the season and not fall flat on their face and out of reach, say, 4 games, because that would probably be pretty hard to make up in a 10-game stretch. So those 2 teams are battling within 1 to 2 games. Those 3 teams are battling within 1 to 2 games over that final 10-game stretch of the season for the Mariners. It's sitting there for the taking because the Mariners are not going to win the division if they can't win those games, 7 games against the Rangers at the end of this season, because realistically, that's who they're chasing right now. Now, the Astros could also turn it around and they still get the Mariners 3 more times, and they have a chance to, jump back over them if the Mariners overtake them at that point. So a lot hinges on that. You would need to win all 3 of those series, at least, if not more, to win that division emphatically, because that's what this schedule is setting up to be. There's going to be too much dependent on just taking care of your own business against the teams in your division.
But here's what favors the Mariners. The Astros are not sitting on Mount Olympus compared to where the Mariners are the way that they used to. I always used to say it felt like climbing Mount Everest to try and beat the Astros every singular time they played them. It's not like that this year. Seattle's 8-2 against the Astros. They have not had issues with Houston this year. And then you look at the Rangers, they're kind of vulnerable right now. You're talking about a team that does not have Eovaldi, does not have Josh Young, and they're 23-19 over their last 42 games. They're not blowing the doors off people the way they were at the start of the season. The bullpen also hasn't been great for the Rangers either. We know that that's a strength for the Mariners. The Rangers have been a bottom 5 bullpen group over the last month. This team is very vulnerable right now. I'm not saying they're still not a good team. They are. But it's not quite the night and day difference between Seattle and Texas the way it was at the start of the year.
And another thing the Mariners have going for them is the Rangers have the 13th hardest remaining strength of schedule. On the docket for the Rangers, they still got to play the Astros 3 more times. Of course, the Mariners 7 more times. They have a 4-game set with Toronto in the wild card chase. Boston, 3 games with Boston in the wild card chase. Houston took care of them tonight. The Twins, 7 games. And of course, they're right in the middle of the set with the Diamondbacks right now. They also have some cupcakes as well. But that's much different than what the Astros and Mariners get. The Mariners have now the 26th remaining strength of schedule, and the Astros have the 28th remaining strength of schedule. So it favors a little bit more Houston and the Mariners, not so much favor in the Rangers. We're going to see how that depth is tested for the Rangers. Their offense can really bail them out of a lot of sticky spots for missing a lot of guys. But, as the season wears on, we're going to have to see how well those bats continue to really carry it, and specifically how Corey Seager can do, who's having, by the way, one of the more low-key MVP campaigns we've ever seen. I think he's just over 80 games this season, and he's the number 2 most valuable player in the American League, which is kind of bonkers. So they're going to need him a lot.
Oh, his WRC plus is close to 200.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, if Ohtani didn't exist, Corey Seager might be the front runner for the MVP.
With 30 less games played than everyone.
It's ridiculous. I will say for the Rangers, too, to their credit and to be fair, I think they've gotten a little bit unlucky as of late, too. Their bullpen has been an issue, but their expected win-loss total right now, 103 wins. They're not on pace for that right now. So that says there's been some bad luck sprinkled in. But look, the Mariners have capitalized on that bad luck, because when the Rangers have been losing games, the Mariners have been making up ground. How long this lasts, we'll see. There's no guaranteeing that the Rangers turn this thing around and all the luck starts to swing their way again. Luck is a fluky thing. So they're right there. If they keep this up, there's no reason they can't take advantage of the Rangers, who, again, this part is also true, are vulnerable right now. They are not at full strength with that roster.
And let me give you some context if you want to be a little bit more optimistic as a Mariner fan. If they keep playing the way they're playing, I mean, this is the kind of ground you can make up on your opponents. Since July 1st, here's the ground the Mariners have made up on these teams. They made 7 games up on Texas, 5.5 games on Houston, 6 games on Toronto, 4.5 on Boston. And now, for fun, I'm going to let you guess how many games they've gained on the Angels in this same span.
10?
12.5.
Oh my God. Hey, the good news is, you know who's going to save the Angels? Nolan Shawnuel.
That's dude. Did he play again today? Were they? No, they didn't play today, did they? There's a hurricane.
For those, yeah. Did you see those pictures of Dodger Stadium, by the way?
Were those real?
Hell. Yeah, I think they were real.
Wow. They have that's a big parking lot, I will say.
For those who don't know the name Nolan Shawnuel, just for context, Nolan Shawnuel was a first-round pick of the Los Angeles Angels a month ago. He was a first baseman out of Florida Atlantic playing in Conference USA. It's not like he was playing at Vanderbilt in the SEC. He gets drafted in the first round a month ago. They move him to Double-A to start. A little bit aggressive, but it's not uncommon these days. He gets 97 big league plate appearances. He played in 21 minor league games. And then they decided to call him up.
And bat him leadoff.
And bat him leadoff in front of the best player on planet Earth. Incredible stuff. While they're already totally out of the race, by the way, the Angels.
Desperation at its finest. I think the Angels have debuted their first round pick 4 straight years, I think. Because Zach Neto did the same thing last year.
But Neto had more time in the minors than this. At least Neto had some of last year in the minors, aka the second half of 2022, and then a little bit of 2023 here this year before his call up. Shawnuel, 21 games? That is nuts. I mean, I think that was borderline ridiculous what they did. And maybe it's not even borderline, and it's just flat out ridiculous what they did.
And if you think of big leaguers in the draft and guys who you think, yeah, the guys who are going to be fastest to the big leagues, like Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens, neither of them are in Double-A yet, even. Like the two guys you would say are probably big leaguers. Is Cruz Double-A?
Well, both of them just got called up. I don't think they've played a game in Double-A yet at the time of this recording, but both of them have now been promoted to Double-A.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
Point being, 2 of the most high-profile prospects in a decade are only in Double-A, where the Angels are telling Nolan Shawnuel, yeah, you're ready to make your debut and go to the big leagues after 21 games in the minors. Yeah, go ahead.
Did Perry Minasian walk down into the clubhouse and put his arm around him and walk over to Shohei's locker and say, Shohei, this could be your future right here, buddy? And Shawnuel's like 21 years old, just like, oh, I'm nervous. That's Shohei Ohtani.
That's their savior. Now, you probably don't have this in front of you. Maybe after this show, we'll have to look how many games they've gained on the A's in this time, too, the Mariners.
A lot. Maybe 32?
Dude, the A's are still not at 40 wins.
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. that it might actually be pretty close to that. Yeah, how many games? Honestly, I'm going to look right now. Oh, look.
What's ridiculous is this team might actually get worse as years go on because, again, nobody's signing there now. And I mean, we've talked about all this, that
But that's
it's
the point.
worse than a 37 to 40 win season is crazy. I don't know if we're ever going to see them put up like a 28 to 29 win season, but that would be ridiculous if that ever happened.
Okay, so the Mariners right now are, what's the math here? 35 and a half games ahead of the A's. Now, how many have they gained since July 1st? I cannot do that math on the MLB app, but wow. I mean, seriously, just look at the AL West, man. 72 wins, 71 wins, 70 wins. The Angels, even with a respectable 61 wins. Then the A's are at, you said not even at 40 wins. They're not even at 35 wins. 34 and 90. I mean, they probably won't hit 100 losses before September. But, man, they still could lose, 130 games? Right
So
now, they couldn't win much more, but
so they could set the record still.
Well, no, they could lose 128 games at this moment. If they lost every game from here on out, I think it would be 128. Right?
Okay, so they won't break the record.
That's quick math. I went to ASU, as you can see. Watch on YouTube. Math was not my specialty.